What's going on, people? We are Tottenham TV back here to review the 1-0 loss against Manchester City last night at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. But this stream is also sponsored by the Bottle Jobs from North London in Arsenal, bottling yet another title last night. So there's something that we can smile about here on a Thursday afternoon. But we've got a members chat here as well from Ryan Isaacs. It says Bilbao, Tottenham are on their way to Bilbao.
Come on.
And
the belief is there.
Yeah, the belief is there. Absolutely. And yeah, let's just get straight into it, because I think that members chat actually significantly plays into probably what the team lineup was yesterday. Decky, Son, Spence all dropped to the bench, rested, you know, something that I've been calling for quite some time, particularly with Decky and Sonny. So I saw a few frustrated people on social media and in our chat saying, why is he resting these guys? Why have they dropped to the bench in such a big game against Man City? I mean, I find it very hard to criticise it when I've been calling for it for so long.
Yeah, and I think I understood the changes. I know we've got an 8-day break between this game and the RZ game, but I think he said before the Ipswich game, this was a good opportunity to give minute to give rest to the likes of Decky, Spence, and Porro, which and Sonny, as well, which obviously for the last 2.5 months he's really had little opportunity to do. So the fact that Decky played 90 against Ipswich means that he decided to rest him in this one against Man City. Some people say it should have been the other way around, but we also had to win that game against Ipswich as well. It wasn't any less important just because it was earlier. And you got to remember as well, people like Brennan, Odebear, were they ready to play more minutes in the Ipswich game than they were in this game? Maybe not. People like Udogie as well. So he took the decision to rest those players. And I think, you know, I don't think it's why the fact that we rested players is why we lost anyway. I think the team got better in the second half before the changes. I think it was more to do with how we kind of approached the game and the fact that we allowed Man City to win that midfield battle early doors, which really cost us in the opening exchanges of the game and led to us being 1-0 down. But in terms of just the changes in the lineup, I was excited to see Odebear from the start. I think, you know, Udogie and Porro, it's not like I know Spence has been great, don't get me wrong. This is not me saying that Spence is not our best fullback currently on form, but it's not like Porro and Udogie is leaving us under strength, you know what I mean? They're two very good fullbacks. Obviously Decky not playing wasn't great, but you've still got Maddison there. You've got who else playing well? Bergvall still playing well. Bentancur played well. So I looked at the team, the lineup. I didn't look at it thinking we got no chance today. I thought it was still a pretty good team, and that I think goes to how our strength is when we do have options, I think. And I think a lot of people have been bemoaning our lack of squad depth over the last 2.5 months. But I think any team is going to have a lack of squad depth, and then you've got 12 injuries. And I think, I'm looking at the team now, it does look fairly deep.
It's not what Pep Guardiola said about the squad depth.
He said you've
got the strongest squad depth.
Yeah, he loves glazing opposition, doesn't he? Though Pep, it's part of his MO. Yeah, it's part of his MO.
But yeah, I mean, the first half, it was just a bit of a shit show, really. It felt like sitting here watching it was a bit like men against boys.
Literally was. It was our second youngest ever lineup in the Premier League.
Yeah, that's true. But I mean, just like they are Premier League players, and you'd expect them to put more of a fight up in that second half. And I thought Doku was getting all sorts of joy down their left-hand side, our right-hand side. I thought Pedro Porro was getting, you know, he was a bit out in the cold a little bit, because he was 1-on-1 against Doku every time. And Doku was just toying with him a little bit. And even when he wasn't 1-on-1, he was caught up the pitch, and he had all the freedom of that area of the pitch. So, I mean, that was one area where they just kept continually just going at us time and time again. And you know what? It's not the first team and it's not the last team that's going to target that area of the pitch.
I think it's very similar to what I saw Man City do against Liverpool. The difference is against Liverpool is when Doku was getting past Trent. You know, they had Van Dijk there, they got Konate there, they had midfielders doing their job, getting and making sure that Doku wasn't able to create the chances he was. My point being, I don't exclusively blame Porro for what happened. I think it was, again, a couple of issues. I think obviously we were pressing as we usually do, and we were kind of building up from the back and trying to get forward and trying to put pressure on that Man City team. and Gonzalez and Kovacic were really doing some good work in the middle, and it led to lots and lots of turnovers in the middle of the park, and especially as well, the front line weren't keeping the ball too well. I thought Odegaard was getting out muscled a lot from Nunes. I thought Johnson was anonymous. Tell couldn't hold the ball up at all. So it led to lots and lots of turnovers from Man City in their favour, and I think they had a clear plan that as soon as they turn the ball over, you get the ball out wide to Doku as soon as possible. And if you do that, and if you're very direct with it, he's going to be in space, because if we're attacking Man City and we're flooding players forward, there will be space out wide, especially in that area when we know Porro likes to get forward. So they were very direct, and they were ruthlessly just going for Porro every single time, and it was. They were creating lots and lots of chances. We know Doku. Look, let's be honest. Doku's a fantastic dribbler. I think he's one of the best. We know he's one of the best dribblers in the league. It's no surprise that very good defenders have struggled against him, just containing him. The question with Doku is not whether he can beat you, it's whether he creates something after. That's usually the problem for Doku, and yesterday he definitely was able to do that. Obviously created the goal, and obviously created one for Savinho, created another one for Haaland as well, which Vicario had to save. So they were getting in down that side. It was hard to watch, for sure. But I don't think it was just down to Porro being out of position or anything. It was more down to how the team were losing kind of possession in dangerous areas, allowing Man City to be direct, and that led to basically Porro just being Doku being in acres of space more often than not.
It just felt like we just couldn't create anything in that first half. You know, I felt Odegaard. I as well was so excited to see Odegaard, but I was actually really disappointed with his first half display, because the one thing what you know with Odegaard, he's going to get the ball and he's going to attack his fullback, and I just felt like every time he got the ball, he just kind of checked back and checked inside and passed inside, and he wasn't kind of being ruthless like a Doku was, or like maybe he showed a few signs of it in the second half. But in the first half, he just didn't want to attack his fullback.
I think the big difference between Doku and Odegaard, from what I can see, is Doku's strength. Doku can outmuscle you as well. He can really go toe to toe in his upper body strength. He's not like, stronger than most other strikers, but when you compare him to other wingers, he has very good body strength. That was emblematic when he had that kind of one-on-one with Porro, and he just shoved him on the floor, and Porro fell over, because Doku is very, very strong. I think Odegaard is still quite lightweight. I think you can see that when he allows defenders to get too close to him, they can outmuscle him and make sure that he's not getting past them. I think Odegaard needs to create like that separation between him and his fullback to make sure he can make the most of his kind of very quick movement and flexibility, which I think we saw more in the second half. But in the first half, we didn't see a lot of it. I think Nunes was getting close to him, and I think every time Odegaard got the ball, he was just being outmuscled and he was being shackled. There was at one moment there, right in the first minute, we thought him and Brennan were linking up. We're like, okay, maybe they're on it today. They didn't quite get the shot off for one reason or another when they had that opening. But I think, to be fair, at 19, well, I think Doku as well maybe was also maybe a bit lightweight, and I think he really worked on that upper body strength, which we see now, which is what got him that move to Man City. He became such a strong player. So I think it's something Odegaard has to kind of get used to. Is in the Premier League, you're going to get very strong defenders up against you, and you're going to have to deal with that. And I think he struggled in the first half. But second half, I thought he reacted a bit better to it.
Yeah, I mean, Doku at that age was playing for Belgium in an international tournament, wasn't he? And he was taking that, maybe not taking the tournament by storm, but like he was showing some really good attributes in that tournament where he's able to consistently attack that space and do really well for Belgium. But yeah, Odegaard, like I said, I do think he improved in the second half, and I felt when he got taken off, he was probably in his best moment in the game. Where
I agree.
He was really starting to shine, really. But yeah, I mean, 4 big chances for Man City in the first half, 0 for Spurs, and that kind of did tell the story of the first half, to be honest. We were very lucky to go in at half-time just being at 1-0. If that game finishes at half-time 2-0, 3-0, you're not batting an eyelid, really, are you?
I think that would have been deserved in terms of the chances created. Vicario had to make some really good saves. Again, it was mostly out wide, Savinho and Doku, who were both creating the chances. But look, we know Man City are a great team, regardless of maybe not being as good as last year. We know since the signings in January, they've much improved from their form in December. The defeats of late have been to very good teams like Madrid and Liverpool, and obviously they've beaten the likes of Newcastle heavily recently. They're definitely turning their form around and are much better. You look at their bench as well; they've got the likes of De Bruyne, Foden, Grealish, got unbelievable bench as well. But I think going into this game, I just expected, especially in the first half, really Tottenham to go 100 miles an hour, really go at Man City and take them to the sword. And I think maybe Man City were ready for it, and they came with a plan to just make sure every time they get the ball, they go direct to those wide areas and get Doku and Savinho on the ball as much as possible. And it was working for them. I think we did probably suffer a bit from a bit of naivety in the first half. And no surprise, really, as we said, it's the second youngest, I think, team we've fielded in the Premier League era. A lot of young players on the pitch. So I think us having to kind of figure out how to get advantage in this game is not a massive surprise. But I thought we would have a bit more in that first half in terms of when we on the ball, just really going at Man City, getting in behind them and causing them problems. And we weren't able to do it at all. Man City shackled us really comfortably. The only shot we had on target was a Danso header, which would have been a miracle to go in from there. It was at the edge of the box. And I think, out wide, they were causing us so many issues. But they do have two of the best dribblers in the league, so it's not a real surprise. But I think, which is before the game, I said that's one area definitely I'm worried about out wide if they're playing Doku and Savinho. That's one area I'm going to be a bit worried about, and that's the main area they were hurting us with. But we just had a bit lucky that Savinho and Haaland didn't quite have their shooting boots on. And also the goal they did score, they did have a big slice of luck, because that the cross from Doku took a massive deflection, which just fell really kindly into Haaland's path. But what's very frustrating is, again, you watch it back and there's about 5 defenders in the box, and Haaland's just free to slip it into the back of the net. Like, again, it's not, people accuse us of being too open and things like that, but when you've got, it's not about being too open, it's about men picking up the players in the box. I just don't understand why Danso's ball watching. I know we had a great game and we're going to praise him, but he was ball watching for the goal. Bentancur ball watching, and Haaland's just in there to steal in and slide it home. And it's so frustrating because he was the only one in the box with 5 defenders in there. So I don't understand how we allow that to happen.
Yeah, I mean, that frustrates me more to a certain extent. I mean, there's one thing if you're kind of got a set tactic and you're a bit open because of that tactic, but if you've actually got players back and they're not picking up their men, that's worse for me.
I mean, it's frustrating, 100%. Worse in what sense do you mean?
Just more frustrating, basically, because I think if you get caught up, you can identify the problem. But if you're not picking up your men, that's just pure laziness.
Yeah, I think people got drawn to the ball. I think it's a case of, as well, when the attacks they had, Man City, as I say, were very quick turnovers and very direct. So they're going very quickly. So it leads to a bit of chaos in the back line because they're catching us in an unsettled moment. They're getting in on our box. And I think a lot of the time the players are so focused on the ball, they're not concentrating on picking up their men. It's happened more than once, to be honest, that kind of thing.
More than twice as well.
I think so. I think that's something that clearly we need to deal with, because way too often we get caught in these moments. The defence is unsettled and unorganised, and it leads to players being free in the box when they shouldn't be, and that's what caused the goal, to be honest. And but they did have a big slice of luck, because Doku's pass was massive deflection, I think, off Gray, and fell just perfectly into the path of Haaland, which obviously he got the goal with. So that was a bit annoying. But Man City could say, well, the other ones weren't luck. They were good passes, and Man City probably should have been at least 2 or 3 up.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, it was no luck that they went in at half-time in the lead. It was probably luck for us that they didn't go into the lead with more of a commanding lead going into that second half. And at half-time, I was sitting there and I was thinking, no, well, the only thing that we're doing really to try and hurt them is long balls over the top that weren't really working. Tell couldn't really get on the ball when he did. It was like sloppy touches. Our front three just looked really lightweight as a whole. But at half-time, I was calling for changes. I thought Spence was going to come on for Pedro Porro. I did think Pedro Porro was really poor in the first half. And then in the second half, I think he turned it around quite a bit, Pedro, where he was getting on the ball, he was being dangerous, he was putting quality crosses into the box. And you just saw Spurs just take it up a notch, and you saw Spurs actually be a bit more aggressive and, you know, command the ball and demand the ball and actually hurt this Man City team, which basically we didn't do for the whole of the first half.
Yeah, I think it was a complete 180, and I agree with the Porro thing. I thought he was going to be subbed because he was struggling, but I actually thought he was excellent in that second half. I thought he was probably our best player in that second half, to be honest. I thought he was really, really good. And I thought, I think what the big difference was in that second half, we were building up a lot better. We were running off the ball a lot more, especially when we were in possession. I felt like we were standing around a bit too much in that first half when we had the ball, and it led to, when we receive it, we're kind of on our heels. Man City looked a lot sharper and forcing that turnover. And on this occasion, I think the running was a lot better. We were forcing Man City to move around the pitch a lot, causing openings. And it led to us getting in all sorts of really good positions out wide. And all of a sudden, we were able to attack them. We were able to get crosses in the box, cause them problems. And I think it's even before the subs, we were doing really, really well. And we were consistently putting Man City under pressure. I don't remember too many opportunities Man City even had in that second half. I know they got the goal right at the end. Apart from that, which obviously was ruled out. Apart from that, I don't see, I don't remember too many opportunities Man City had in that second half of any note, and especially when we're 1-0 down and we're forced to, you know, come out and really go at them, you expect that we're going to be leaving even more spaces and Man City were going to catch on the counter, but actually they weren't able to do it, and we were really aggressive. That high line was really, really something that Man City weren't able to break, and I thought Gray and Danso were a big part of that in that second half. Every long ball, they were making sure that Man City weren't allowing them basically to get it on the ground and create an attack from it. They were winning it, or at least making sure they're winning the second ball if Man City won it, and that allowed Tottenham to sustain the pressure. And I thought we started the second half really well. Odobel was really coming into it, I felt. Started to really beat Nunez a couple of times. I guess still struggled, but Bergvall I thought was really starting to purr as well in that second half.
I thought Bergvall showed really good signs in the first half as well, in a poor game. But it's a common theme now with Bergvall that I've actually been noticing in the last couple of games, where he just grows and grows and goes throughout the game. I mean, he is such a talent, man.
I think he's got incredible engine, and I think his engine is what keeps him going, and that's why in that second half bit when other players are waning, he kind of thrives.
The way he can just like glide past players and like do pirouettes past players at the age of what, 19 he is now, doing that against the Man City midfield, who are, you know, really dominant in the first half, is, I mean, I think it's unbelievable what I'm seeing from Lucas Bergvall week in, week out at the moment.
I agree. And I think he's getting better and better. I thought he was phenomenal at points yesterday, and against a really good Man City midfield as well. Experienced, strong as well. He was able to compete and glide past players like they weren't even there again, and set Tottenham up on attacks. And I think the guy is 19, and I just feel like he's got so many unbelievable qualities. You can just see it on the pitch, and I think he's really doing an amazing job for the team. But you just can see, the more he plays, the better he gets. He's going to become a proper top player, and I think he's going to be a player that everyone's going to be looking at thinking, I wish we had him, because he can do anything. He really can. I think he's still, even in the moments I'm seeing now, he's still a bit raw, and he's still like some decisions he's still making off the ball, especially like picking up runners and stuff. He's still got to refine that, but that comes with experience. Once he's like a more tactically aware kind of player, and he's kind of refined that aspect of his game, there's going to be no stopping him. Yeah, there really is.
A hell of a player, 100%. And you look at the top performances he's had for Spurs, right? Just look at the one against Liverpool in the first leg of the Carabao Cup, and then this one yesterday against like the two best teams pretty much in the Premier League, and when he's only just come from the Swedish league last summer. I mean, it's unbelievable to him to put in this kind of level of performance against this kind of opposition so early on in his Spurs career.
Yeah, it's phenomenal, and he's a staple in the team now. He's got to be starting I think you've got to play him every game in terms of first choice, because I think he's really earned that in the way he's playing. Until his form drops, he's got to be our first choice central midfielder, because I don't think we have a profile like him who was that good on the ball, the way he carries it and the way he passes it forward. And as well, he's not a liability off it. He's got unbelievable stamina, unbelievable strength, and he puts the tackles in. And I think he's phenomenal, and I'm enjoying him. He's one of those players as well. You just really enjoy watching play.
100%.
You just love. He's just a joy to watch, and that's what he's the kind of players we love football for, and that you pay your money for, because he's just it's a beautiful sight.
I don't know about you, but I felt like when Spurs brought on the changes, it kind of killed the momentum a little bit, because I felt like we were really on top. And then Man City kind of came a little bit back into it once we made those changes.
I don't think it's when we made the changes; it's when they did.
Yeah, potentially.
That's when I felt the momentum like stopped a bit. Up until I would say,
well, there were 5 minutes break, 5 minutes between them.
Yeah. So I said I was at the game yesterday, obviously, and I said to Dad when we were on top of them for those first like 15, 20 minutes, that half. And obviously we made changes as well. And we were really, I thought, we kind of had them on the ropes a bit, and we were really pummeling them. I thought we should have put away at least one of those chances that we made. And we made the subs, and I thought we still had them. But I said to them, we need to score before they make changes, because Pep's a smart manager. As soon as they start making a couple of changes, that's them fixing the problem a bit and fixing the tactical issues he saw. And we had the chances to score before they made those changes, but then they brought on Foden, they brought on Bernardo, they brought on that bit of energy which they were definitely lacking in that second half. And all of a sudden, I wouldn't say they regained control, but they just got a bit of a foothold in the game. And they didn't really create anything, but they just stemmed the tide. They stopped us from really just getting in on them time after time. And that was, really frustrating. But I would say that will only happen for about a 10, 15 minute period. And then for the last, I would say going into the last 10 minutes,
well, their changes came on with 15 minutes to go.
So I would say, when did Son miss that chance? I think after Son had that chance, we had a few other moments thereafter. So maybe the last 5 minutes, we kind of started to really push again. And obviously Edison made that save from Son, and then we had the chance right at the end from Sarr, which was very frustrating. But we had so many moments in that half. Obviously, the chances, we can talk about Odebear's chance to the far post with a brilliant cross from Porro. You had various opportunities from corners with Bentancur and Danso, where they had headers. You had Doggy winning the ball high up the pitch, playing it to Tell, and he should have scored, or Doggy should have been doing a lot better. You had Brennan playing it into Decky, which was an unbelievable opportunity, but Decky miscontrolled it. You had Brennan's chance, which he laid on a plate for Son, which should have probably had a better effort with in that moment as well. There was many obviously Sarr's moment at the end. Sarr as well had another moment before where I think it was Spence pulls it back for him, and he just takes a wild swing at it. That was a really good opportunity as well. And he actually nearly went out for a corner, or nearly went near the corner flag, and that was a really good chance. Obviously, my point being, we had lots of chances, and we had a lot of chances on top of those chances where we didn't even get a shot off where we should have, where we was like a right pass, and it's another really good opportunity. So that was really, really frustrating that we just didn't get the pass right. We weren't ruthless like we were maybe against Ipswich, which obviously I know is a different kettle of fish, but we were just ruthless in that game with a lot less chances. This one we had a few more chances, and we just kept mishitting it or not getting the chance right or the pass right. So frustrating. I think the second half performance at least deserved a goal, I would say, and I think we come away with that from that game just frustrated that we didn't get anything out of it.
Yes, to a certain extent I agree, but I mean, when you're looking at, I think, the balance of play from the first half and the second half, the game as a whole, Man City did create the more presentable chances. They created the more clear-cut chances in the game, and I felt like when you take the whole game and look at it objectively, I do think Man City probably just about edged it.
Yeah, I don't think we could complain about Man City winning. I just think it's frustrating that we didn't get anything out of it, considering how we pushed them in the second half. And we were dominant. Like, Man City had very little. I know we had very little in the first half. I would say Man City were better in the first half than we were in the second half. I think that's fair to say. But, we are still a young team. And my point being, when you're under the pressure like we were against a good team like Man City, to regain control with that second half like we did, and actually get in a situation where we really got them on the ropes and we're creating loads of chances, and we should be putting them away, especially with the team we had out there. And obviously we hadn't made changes, but I still think that was a positive. And I think a goal would have been reward for that in terms of how the game went, but we didn't get it. And as well, as you say, that first half, City could have been out of sight if their finishing was better as well. So that's something that we got to learn from and try and understand why, again, that happened and how we can stop that happening down the line. Obviously, we're not going to be playing teams as good as Man City every week, but they obviously really ripped us apart in that first half on the wing. So we got to figure out, but I think we can definitely take a lot of positives out of that second half because it was a very young team. I know we made changes and obviously up the age of the team and the quality probably, but it was still overall we're still a quite a young team. We're still getting players back from injuries and things like that, and I think you can see the team just getting better. And I think that second half was evidence of that. And I think we definitely looked a lot more like an Ange team that second half, and probably a lot more like an Ange team even in some of the wins we've had recently. I think that second half was better than a lot of those performances. So I think we take a lot of encouragement in that. But it's another defeat, and that's the reality.
Yeah, I mean, I was happy with that second half display. I'm not going to sit here and say I wasn't, but the reality is, if the game can be gone by you by half time, I mean, it's just, I think we were just lucky in a sense to still be in the game at half time. And yes, we were, and yes, we grew, and yes, we showed some good traits, but I still look at that and being like, yeah, it's probably not good enough.
I disagree. I think the second half we showed enough for me to say that we're really starting to get better, in my opinion. And I was really encouraged by that second half. Yeah, the first half wasn't good enough. We are playing a good team, and I know we expect better. And I thought anyway, we could really come flying out of the traps and go for them. But we did play. We changed the side. We did play a very, very young team on the day. As I said, second youngest we've ever played. So it's no surprise that Man City got the advantage on that point with that bit more experience, a bit more know-how, getting very direct on our back line. And we struggled to deal with them at times. And yeah, Vicario had to keep us in the game. He did make some really good saves, don't get me wrong. But they missed those chances. And I think, yeah, there were good chances. We were lucky to be still in the game at half time. But I've seen that happen a few times in Man City this season. It's not the first time I've seen them miss a lot of chances in the first half, and then second half it's a different story. And I think the way we regain control, it could have been easy for us in that second half with the way the first half was going to lose that game 2 and 3-0 going second half, but we didn't. We turned it around, and we actually, not only did we get a foothold in the game, we gained control, I should say, of the game.
You say that in Man City this is a common theme for Man City to miss all these chances in the first half and then kind of lose control in the second half. And so was that a Man City doing a Man City, or was that Spurs actually growing into the game?
You still got to do your job. Like, they've only done it really against good teams, really, who are able to do it. You have to do your job as well, which is turn it around and gain control. They've also missed chances and gone on to win games 3-0. Like, my point being, you have to still be a good team to do that to them. And I think I don't think a bad team can do what we did to Man City in that second half, which was really restrict them to very, very little and create a number of opportunities and physically dominate them, especially with a very young team that we had. And I think I was really encouraged by that second half. I know we didn't take anything from the game, and I thought before the game there was a good chance we could have, and I was really disappointed we didn't score any goals. But I think I'm looking at the context of the game, the context of the team we were playing in Man City, who are still a very good team. Whatever anyone want to say about them, they're still in the top 4, and they still, with their new signings, they've been a lot better. Yes, it wasn't good enough to get the result, and yes, it's very frustrating. But what I would say is, if we play like that second half more often than not, we're going to win a lot of games, I think, from now to the end of the season. And especially if we can play like that in the Europa League, I think we'll be okay. I think we're going to do well. So I was very encouraged by that second half. But when it's the 14th defeat of the season, understand that people aren't going to see the positives, and they're only going to see the loss, and they're going to say it's not good enough and all these kind of things. And I understand that, and that's fair enough. I'm not going to say you're wrong. I'm just going to say that I was encouraged by that in terms of how we've been playing for a while over the last 2 months, and to see that kind of level of performance was really encouraging again.
Another player who kind of frustrated me again yesterday was Brennan Johnson. I don't think he had, in the first half he was pretty much non-existent. In the second half, finally he took on his man. And he got the better of him, and we created a chance out of it. Only Decky to kind of miscontrol it at the time. But this is what happens when Brennan tries to take on his man. It's too often, like I said about Odegaard in the first half, where he just kept checking inside, passing it sideways, passing it backwards. Brennan was pretty much doing that the whole game. I mean, what does it take for these guys, Odegaard and Johnson, to consistently just go and take on your man, have that confidence to do that?
I think they need to be winning their individual duels. You have to kind of earn that right to take him on and get into that space. I don't think he was getting into those spaces in the first half. He was getting bullied, and he wasn't getting into the spaces where he can just attack the space and take on his man. More often than not, Gvardiol was stepping in front of him, winning the ball ahead of him. He wasn't kind of competing for those duels at all. And that was really frustrating. It was anonymous. He wasn't the only one. I think the whole front three were really struggling to impact the game in that first half. But Brennan, no doubt he was as well. I thought first half he was better, to be honest. I have to give him a bit of credit, because I thought he was at the centre of a few chances that we created. There was one for Decky. There was one for Son. I think he was also involved in the move that led to Sarr missing that chance near the end as well. He also, I think, was involved in the move that Odegaard missed that chance early on. So I thought he was really starting to get involved in the game a lot more in that second half. Not to say he was amazing, but he was much better than he was in the first half and much more involved in the game. And in fact, it was more of his assisting work, which he's maybe neglected a bit too much this season, which I thought was much improved in that second half. And I thought it was probably the right decision to keep him on, because I thought he was influencing him a bit more. But first half, he was very frustrating. He wasn't good at all. And yeah, when he's in that kind of mood, like he was in that first half, he's hard to watch, because he's just a bit anonymous. It's like doesn't want to show for the ball. When he gets on the ball, he gives it away too often, and he seems lack of confidence. But in that second half, there are moments where he was going more direct and was using his attributes, and I thought we saw a much better Brennan.
Spence, I thought, came on, did a really good job again straight away. He was looking to drive the team forward, great in those kind of tight spaces again. And I thought Pape Matar actually showed a lot more in when he came on than he has done probably over the last month whenever he's been on the pitch. But it's all going to come down to that last kick of the game pretty much, where you got to put that away.
Yeah. I thought the subs did make a good impact, and I thought they brought that energy, which, again, it's no surprise. You have a squad to choose from. As soon as we can make changes on just after the hour mark, you can maintain that intensity, and that was kind of what we were able to do. I thought Sarr was really good off the bench. He was able to really compete in that centre, and I thought he was getting around the pitch really, really well. And I thought Spence just, again, added to what Udogie was doing. I thought Udogie was having a pretty decent game in that second half, and then Spence comes on, and I think he just adds to that as well. And I thought he looked really confident. It was so weird, though, in the game. Like, it was really evidence of Spence's change of status at the club, because it was very quiet on the day yesterday. I have to say the atmosphere was quite quiet, but as soon as Spence took his shirt off and was coming off the bench, all of a sudden the crowd lit up, and it was like Bale was coming on or something. It was like
he was born to play for Spurs.
It was like it's crazy the level, the change in status that Spence has. Like, he got the biggest cheer of all when his name was read out to come off the bench, and I think that is kind of evidence that people absolutely have fallen in love with Jed Spence and the form he's been on, and we like a good comeback story at Tottenham. And I think Spence is definitely emblematic of that. And I think he had a really good cameo again. I thought he was getting to the byline. He was linking up well with Sonny at times down that left-hand side, and another solid performance from him.
Yeah, I mean, two players that I think have caught the hearts of the Spurs fans right now. Spence is one of them, and the other one is Kevin Danso. Kevin Danso is really playing his way into being a fan favourite right now. His aggressive nature on the pitch, his dominance in the air, I love him. And I love the way he just strides up the pitch and how hard he is in the challenge. There was one challenge he made that was just fantastic as well, when a Man City player was bearing down in the box and he just slides in and takes the ball off him. He did get caught out a few times by with his aggressive runs down the centre of the park, but this guy is just endearing himself into the Spurs fan base, isn't he?
Yeah, he is, and he's so brave. He's fearless, which you need to play in an Ange system. And I think he does some really great things, which definitely catches the eye of a lot of the fans. The way he is so strong in the challenge. He made one brilliant challenge right at the end of the game. I think it was on Foden.
That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, right at the end, near the end of the game. Brilliant challenge. Which those kind of things stick out to a lot of players' minds. I thought actually in the first half there were times he was a bit out of position, a bit too high up, and he was caught following Mamouche all the way into the Man City half, and he didn't really care how deep Mamouche went. He would go and follow him, and I thought Man City maybe planned for that, and I think we could see them kind of taking advantage of it a bit. And I also thought for the only goal, he was caught on his heels a bit. He's caught ball watching because he's not marking anyone in the box, and Haaland is able to get completely free. But you can just see the fit he is for this system compared to the likes of Dragusin who've been playing beforehand. In terms of, he's so aggressive, he's so brave. If there's a ball there to be won, he'll go for it. If it means kind of stepping out of defence and breaking into space, he'll do it. He kind of embraces the chaos that sometimes Ange Ball causes, and I think that really helps him, and it helps us that we have someone like that, because I think someone like Dragusin, when he sees something on the pitch to kind of like either a player out of position which he needs to track, or a bit of space in the middle of the park which he needs to fill, he'll just hesitate a bit more, because he's always kind of defence first and safety first. And I think on the other side, Danso won't hesitate. He'll go for it. He'll go for those things a lot more. And I think you need to have that kind of mentality to get the best out of this kind of system, because you need players who are just going to be brave like that. And the system is higher risk, higher reward. So the players have to be the same, if you know what I mean. You have to commit that risk if you're going to make the system work. And that's exactly what Danso does. And that's what I love about him.
Yeah, back on the Spence thing for a second. Like, I am slightly concerned. I'm not overly concerned about it just yet, but we'll have to wait and see what happens next week. But Ange did make those comments a few weeks ago, saying that Spence is going to be really important for us until Udogie comes back. And, they both started yesterday. Spence obviously played really well when he came on, and I really hope this doesn't mean Spence just drops to the bench now.
Well, he's going to have to be rested at some point.
No, I mean on a consistent basis.
I don't see why it would. He came on. He came off the bench and played well. He started last time against Ipswich as well on the right. He seems to be. I think Ange can tell he's our form fullback at the moment. So I don't see why I'd be concerned about that at the moment.
Just because of the comments he's made in the past and maybe the way he's treated Spence in the past. But I think that, well, look, we'll see. We'll see what happens in the coming weeks and the coming months.
But what would not make you concerned if he didn't play Udogie at all? You know what I mean?
If he didn't play Udogie at all? No. I mean, I just feel like Spence should be one of the first names on the team sheet right now, and I just hope he continues to kind of use him in that way. And I'm not saying I'm disappointed that he got a rest yesterday, but I'm not disappointed with the lineup that Ange chose, but I just hope that he doesn't revert into just playing Porro and Udogie every game.
I'm just saying, you saying I'm slightly concerned. What would not make you concerned if Spence didn't get a rest at all? Would that make you not concerned at all?
No, like I said, I'm not really concerned about the starting lineup. I'm just concerned that moving forward he might persist with Porro and Udogie.
Okay, but I'm saying what of his actions has made you feel that way?
Because of the comments he made a few weeks ago.
What comments?
He said that Spence is going to be very important for us until Udogie comes back.
Well, that's true.
But he should be important for us even after Udogie comes back. Why does that?
Yeah, because he's going to have to because Udogie has been a very good left back for us as well. So they're going to have to rotate when he comes back, and obviously rotate with Porro as well. But that's absolutely right. He's trying to say that Spence is going to have to play every game until Udogie comes back.
Mm-hmm. And I just hope he persists with him, because we've seen how he favours obviously Udogie and Porro over Spence throughout the whole season, and he's overplayed these guys into Porro to be overplayed and Udogie into injury. So I just hope that he does keep persisting with Spence being the number one fullback.
If Spence deserves it, he will, I think.
Yeah, and he does deserve it.
For now, he does, yeah, for sure.
So like I said, I'm not massively over concerned about it. It's just a slight concern. So I'm not going to beat him down or anything. It's just something worth mentioning.
Yeah, but it's like, but there's nothing since the doggy's come back. He's obviously going to get some minutes, isn't he? So, like there's nothing he can do to not make you concerned. Essentially, at this point.
Well, unless let's say Thursday comes around and Spence doesn't start, then that's a clear indication to me.
Okay, fair enough.
Is that not fair?
No, that's fair. If Spence, I think he will start on Thursday.
Oh, yeah, I'm bloody hoping he does because he has to start on Thursday. He has to. But if he doesn't, then I think that is a massive concern, and that is maybe as to where Ange actually sees Spence.
I think he will start on Thursday.
Yeah, I hope so. But let's talk about that goal then that never was with Erling Haaland, because I mean we watched it about a million times here in the studio with all these different angles, and some angles looked like it was, some angles looked like it wasn't. I was actually unaware until this morning until you told me saying on the on-field decision was to be ruled out. What was it like from, I mean, I guess you couldn't really tell in the stands yesterday.
We didn't really know what was going on, to be honest. It was a bit nonsense that there was a 5-minute VAR check for a goal right at the end of the game when, he could have blown up very quickly after, but it was kind of very frustrating. You saw Ange, I don't know if you saw the vlog, but I was kind of zooming in on Ange throughout the whole check, and he was getting so annoyed that he was like, just chuck this whole thing away. He kept like throwing his hands like that. He was like, we know how much Ange hates VAR, and I think it was definitely something that he was frustrated on. In terms of the goal being ruled out, I've watched it back. Obviously, I didn't see it until later when I watched the match of the day. I watched it back. I would say understand why the referees didn't give it, because I think it's, again, if the on-field decision gives it, I think the goal stands. But because the referee didn't give it, you just can't quite. It's because the subjective nature of handball. If I've got it on camera, it can touch here, but it can't touch down there. Now the ball touched right in the middle here. So did some of the ball touch this area of the arm, or was it all on this area? It was kind of unclear on the camera which area. So I think from that point of view, the referee couldn't disallow it. Couldn't allow the ball once the goal's been allowed. So I think it's more to do with the handball rule. But if I was Haaland, I'd be very aggrieved with that decision for sure.
100%. And if Porro, if Sarr goes up the other end and actually puts that in the back of the net a minute later, Man City would be absolutely fuming with that. But, it did end up 1-0, so it didn't really have much of a significant part to play.
Could have had, because straight on, as soon as that happened, we had that chance from Sarr.
That's what I just said.
So I'm saying, but it could have had a massive part to play.
That's what I just said.
Yeah.
I said that. I said.
I thought you said it didn't have a significant part to play.
I said it didn't in the end because Sarr put the ball in the back of the net.
Yeah, but I'm saying it could have. They would have been fuming if that goes in.
Yeah. So look, at the end of the day, it's a 1-0 win for Man City. I did think Man City on the balance of play probably just about edged it out. Spurs, did show some stuff in the second half, maybe something to be a bit positive about moving forward, and I'm happy that some of the players are rested in terms of going away to AZ Alkmaar next week, which is the big game that we need to look forward to. But with the lineup yesterday, it surely shows that Ange is prioritising this Europa League now.
I think it shows that, but I think it's more that we've got a squad back and he's using the squad, and I think we've got to do that. And I don't think. Do
you think he should have maybe rung these changes, or maybe half these changes against Ipswich and then another half against Man City?
It just depends who's ready and who's not. You know what I mean? These are people like Brennan, Odebear, Udogie. I don't know how.
Two of them did start against Ipswich.
Two of them did start against Ipswich. It was Odebear ready to start against Ipswich. I maybe he needed that little bit of game time before he was ready to start. I don't know who else was changed. I'm trying to remember now.
That was it, really.
Obviously, Decky. Who came in for Decky?
Well, Porro started. Porro did
Maddison kind of. Maybe we're going to see Decky play central a bit more. I hope that's why he's maybe he's going to rotate with Madders. Maybe they'll play together. No, I don't have a problem with it. I think we had to win that Ipswich game. It was an important game as well to win, and I don't see what changes for this game, I don't know. I think what changes are we accusing him of for not that he should have done against Ipswich that he didn't do in this game that we think are maybe ready?
Maybe to put Decky on the bench.
To put Decky on the bench and play who?
Well, Decky played in the middle, didn't he? So you could have maybe played a midfield three of Bentancur or Bergvall and Sarr or something like that, and had Bergvall as the most attacking player.
When? In which game?
Ipswich.
And play Decky and Madders in this one?
And maybe drop Madders, keep Madders on the bench. I don't know.
We'll play
many options.
But you decided to play Decky on Saturday and Madders in this one. I don't have a problem with that.
Yeah, I'm not saying there's a problem. I'm just asking you.
Yeah, and I'm not. I don't think there's a problem. No.
Are you starting to be concerned a bit by Tell?
Well, I'm not happy with it.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's not great at the moment, I have to say. He's struggling. I think he's very much struggling with the lack of time he gets on the ball, his lack of hold-up play at the moment. Moves seem to break down when it gets to him. His finishing in front of goal, he seems to be snapping at things. I do think it's more to do with lack of game time in the season as a whole, adjusting to a new league. It's a bit of a catch-22 we got with Tell because he needs the game time to kind of get up to speed, build some fitness and everything, and as well, to get into his rhythm of the game. He needs that game time and adjust to the league and adjust to the team. But, Solanke's coming back soon. Richarlison's not even far away. You could even say Scarlett deserves minutes. So how can we balance out? How can we balance out giving Tell the game time he needs to get up to speed, but also him earning that spot in the team? It's a catch-22 at the moment.
Yeah,
because if we don't give him that time,
you've got to persist with him in the Premier League because the Premier League pretty much means nothing from now to the end of the season. So you've got to give him the most minutes we can in the Premier League, whether it be up front or even from the left wing, and see if he can kind of build up any sort of form until the end of the season. Because you saw the likes of Bergvall when he first came into the team, it was nowhere near showing the kind of application and skill set that he's showing right now. So he needs game time as a young player coming into a new league. I feel like he's got a lot of potential Till, but he just looks physically kind of lightweight, where Bergvall never really felt like he was like physically lightweight.
I would say, you look at that Galatasaray game, you'd probably say Bergvall was lightweight. But I don't think Tell's actually that lightweight. I actually think he's stronger than you think he is. And I've seen him in the Bundesliga really compete with centre-backs and score really good headers. And I think he's physically... I'm not saying he's any Solanke, don't get me wrong, but or even a Richarlison, but I don't think he's weak. I think he can compete. I think it just comes with experience and time. I think... no, he hasn't shown it yet. I think he's looked out of sorts. There are times I remember, like Richarlison, when he's out of form and he's also recovering from injuries or building his fitness up, he can also look weak, and then all of a sudden once he's at his top of his game he looks a lot stronger. I think Tell's in that period at the moment where he's basically he's played 3 games for Bayern so far this whole season. I think he's played very little, and he's probably played more for Tottenham already than he's played the whole season for Bayern. So he's also adjusting to a new league where he's playing probably more physical centre-backs with less space, and he's playing with his back to goal a bit. I think it probably would benefit him if he was playing in a way which he was facing the goal rather than with his back to goal. I think that's kind of hampering him, and he has to kind of adjust to that. But at the moment, he's struggling. At the moment, there's no doubt about it. He is struggling. I can't deny that. And it's no surprise. The only good moment we saw from him against Villa when he scored was, he's running in behind and he's got the game in front of him. When he's got his back to goal and defenders are like that in his back, and he's kind of having to shove them off and protect the ball. He's really struggling to do that. And I thought again was rightfully taken off.
Yeah. It is a bit frustrating because I thought he was going to come in and hit the ground running. But obviously it's not the case, and it's a big question now. What do we do in Alkmaar? Do we persist with him? Or do we bring in like a Dane? Do we put Decky in the false 9? What do we do?
I think we're probably going to persist with Tell. Yeah, I think persist with him because I think just give him more time. I think Europa League, a good opportunity for him against a team from Holland to gain some kind of confidence. Depends, I guess, if Solanke's ready. If Solanke's ready, I think you just got to put Dom in because it's an important game. But I think Tell, I would still persist with him. I would.
I reckon if Dom was playing yesterday, I reckon we probably get a goal in that second. I think we were missing him so much yesterday.
I think, yeah, both boxes was what really hurt us.
Yeah.
I think if you add Romero, Van der Ven, and Solanke, that's just such a different
forget
game.
even Romero and Van der Ven, right? Just Solanke. I think it would have impacted our attack so much more. I thought we would have, probably created a few more chances in that first half as well, because he provides so much for us, not even just in the box, but in the build-up phase of the game. He drops deep, he wins the ball back consistently, he drives us forward.
He just makes it stick,
yeah,
which
and
sustains attacks.
I was saying it consistently last night, like we're just missing a Solanke desperately.
Yeah, agreed. Which I think would have made a lot of difference. I completely agree with that.
All right, well, that is it. That is our match review from the 1-0 loss against Manchester City last night.